at every level. Now, India has already earned the infamy for its terrorist designs and actions. Its actions in the IIOJK, the infamous massacre in Indian Gujarat, which made some countries close its door on many well-known Indian leaders, and which still ensures that many other Indian leaders still continue to glorify this incident. They want to identify with that incident rather than away from the incident. This shows the psyche which is currently going on. And I tell you, it's a dangerous one. The Samjhota train incident that we all know about, its terrorist proxies continue to use neighbors' territories and blatant support to Baloch militant organizations. All of these point to one objective and one method. The objective is to undermine Pakistan's peace and security, and the method is simple: terrorism. Now, we can call what India is doing to be many things, okay? I think, fragment of a sentence which describes it well is chronic terrorism syndrome, okay? And how do you define it? You perpetrate terrorism, you fully supported and abetted by the state. The Lahore incident, the Samjhota train incident, the Yadev evidence all point out to that. You play as a victim of terrorism to gain international sympathy and create subterfuge. No country has used terrorism better than India. To play on the back of the attention of the world on terrorism and to play the victim, no country has benefited from it better than India. Portray yourself or itself as the champion of counterterrorism. And it's interesting because this forefront of counterterrorism, of ensuring that we are a player in the world to try and make sure that terrorism does not continue to haunt us. It also continues to divert international attention from its state-sponsored terrorism and human rights violations in the IIOJK. It blatantly violates international laws and regulations to continue terrorist activities and their support, facilitation, and financing. Maybe it will not be very wise to bring it in this context, but allow me to remind all of you that India is a country which continues to be called a rogue state, because the country that tries to deny the existence of Security Council resolutions and insists on other countries imagining a certain part of disputed territory as its own shows what type of a mindset this country has. And I can say, of course, it's a very, very dangerous mindset. Create hurdles in judicial proceedings when terrorism cases are sub judice. Paralyze United Nations Security Council. And this is also very rich because, do what you blame others for. Okay? So India has been consistently paralyzing United Nations Security Council's sanctions regime by blocking listing of Indian terrorists actively aided and financed by the state of India. And in this, I have 4 names that I can share with you, I think at the end of this, which are recent Indian nationals whose listing has been blocked by India. In fact, I do have those names with me. This is Gobinda Patnaik, Parthasarthi, Rajesh Kumar, and Mr. Dungara. All 4 names blocked by India in UNSC listing. And obviously, I think I don't need to remind anyone that India has had a constant role in destabilizing its neighboring countries and weaken their economies to try and pursue its hegemonic designs in the region. CPEC, Balochistan are very good examples. I also question, I can just try and remind India that you cannot have islands of excellence in a sea of depravity. So when you try and harm your region, you actually end up harming yourself. Now, we can understand that India is currently very frustrated because Pakistan has been, because of the delisting of Pakistan from FATF's grey list, right? They have completely mastered the art of using international organizations for their political gains. I think they should give lessons on that type of diplomacy to the world. Now, this cannot change the fact that India remains the recruiter, the financier, the facilitator of various terrorist outfits and foreign terrorist fighters within the region. The world may be ignoring this, what I would consider to be a festering pool of terrorism, but at its own peril. What is ironic, as I've already said, is that India has been beating the terrorism drum, chairing UNSC meetings on terrorism. Now it has been caught red-handed in this particular incident, orchestrating terrorist attacks in its neighboring country, Pakistan. Let me be clear to you, and as I've already said, when you burn your neighbor's house, the fire will reach you too. I think India should desist from this policy and start looking at this region as the neighborhood that it is. And India's unabated slip into the abyss of extremism is being clouded by this growing India, emerging India narrative. And let me conclude by saying, because you might be asking, what is the, yes, this is all the evidence, the dossier is there, but what is the purpose? We believe truly that the international community, in particular the UN and FATF, have the responsibility now to hold India accountable for its terrorist actions. So we are looking for accountability. The Lahore incident for us is a test case for the credibility and integrity of international counterterrorism and counter-financing of terrorism regimes. The world must show that efforts to counter terrorism are non-discriminatory. The international conscience cannot be held hostage to what are clearly political and economic exigencies of the time. I also want to draw the world's attention to the victims who lost lives or were injured in the Lahore terrorist incident, as well as their families and loved ones. They look towards all of us for justice. We have shared this dossier with the members of the United Nations Security Council. We are also sharing it with the UN Secretary General. We hope that they would look into this evidence and fulfill their responsibility. Pakistan, for its part, will remain fully committed to eradicate terrorism in all its form and manifestations. As far as this specific issue is concerned, I know you already know from the Interior Minister's briefing, but I will just repeat. Red warrants through Interpol have already been issued. Mutual legal assistance requests to countries whose territory has been used for this incident have been sought, and we are, as we already said, will be formally taking it up at the UN. We have shared the copies, are in the process of sharing the copies of the dossier with the Security Council members and the United Nations Security Secretary General. And our expectations of the world is that if this is allowed, because of India's growing, because of what we call the exigencies of political and economic interest, we will all have to pay the price for it. We will all have to pay the price for it. So with that.
Yes, please.
और फिर अभिनंदन और अभी ये जो मौजूदा हुआ है, तो क्या आपको उम्मीद है कि भारत को इन सब कुछ का सजा मिलेगा?
उम्मीद पे दुनिया कायम है, सॉरी। सो देखें, जो फैक्ट है वो ये है कि अगर कोई मुल्क एक दूसरे के ऊपर हम वो तो कह सकते हैं, एलिगेशन लगाना आसान है, ये मुल्क ये करता है, ये अगर एक मुल्क का एक एजेंट पकड़ा जाए, फिर वो पूरी तरह कह भी दे कि वो किसके एजेंडे पे आया था, किसका एजेंट था, और वो हाजिर सर्विस हो और वो निकल जाए, और फिर भी दुनिया उसको तस्लीम ना करे या उसको क्वेश्चन, सो दैट वुड बी आयरॉनिक. सो हाँ, हमें इस पे उम्मीद है कि ये जो इनका ट्रेल ऑफ एविडेंस आता जा रहा है, मैंने बल्कि आपसे नाम नहीं लिया ना, आपने अब ये मौका दिया तो मैं इसका बताना चाहूँगी कि पिछले 3 सालों में 211 individuals of law enforcement agencies have been attacked through Raw-sponsored attacks. There have been 1,213 attacks in Pakistan in the last 3 years, where we have evidence that they were Raw-sponsored. Now, if I take you to the list of the last, आप कह रहे हैं ना कि उम्मीद है, उम्मीद इसी चीज़ पे हो सकती है ना कि दुनिया को नज़र आ जाए, सामने आ जाए कि कितना ज़्यादा उनकी तरफ से ये होता जा रहा है. Now, attack on PC Hotel Gwadar, 11th May 2019. Attack on Chinese consulate Karachi, November 2018. Attack on oil exploration company at Gwadar, October 15th, 2020. Suicidal attack at Gwadar, 20th August 2021. Suicidal attack on FC camp at Panjgor Noshki, February 2022. Indian disinformation campaign we all know about. So really, my question is, how much is too much? And is this not too much? And how would we allow a country to drum the to use the terrorism drum on a platform like the Security Council? And how do we deny, then questions are asked about the credibility of these institutions, of course. So I think this is clearly a very serious matter, and real questions need to be asked.
Yes, ma'am.